They embody our darkest fears and ignite our imaginations. They've been with us in one form or another since the beginning of recorded time, as much a part of our history as life and death. And yet it's surprising how little we actually know about them. Spirits, apparitions, spooks, phantoms, poltergeists. Some seek them out. Most seek to be protected from them, as evidenced in this early Cornish prayer. Dear Lord, protect us from ghoulies and ghosties and long-leggedy beasties and things that go bump in the night. Good evening, I'm James Doohan. They've been called ghost stories, legends, myths, and total inventions of an overworked imagination. Whatever they are, tonight we will explore them all. So sit tight and keep a candle burning as we crawl from the safety of a warm bed, slide the bolt, and swing open the door. Tonight we will track, unearth, and embrace those things that go bump in the night. When we come back, a castle in the clouds with not one but two ghostly tales, including a hotel bellman that checks in from the afterlife and a mysterious bride who dances her wedding waltz alone. When Things That Go Bump continues. Talk to anybody, then just whisper the word ghost. In seconds, you'll be immersed in a tale of unexplainable occurrence, one that appears to completely defy rational explanation. Everybody, everywhere, has a ghost story. Alberta's Rocky Mountains, as beautiful as they are mysterious. In 1885, the Government of Canada set aside just over 2,500 square miles in the heart of this pristine wilderness, creating Canada's first national park.
Sir John A. Macdonald, who piloted the bill through Parliament to establish the park, saw it as a spa along European lines where the wealthy would come to spend periods of time to take the waters, to relax and enjoy the scenery and the surrounding area.
Each year, the park enjoyed more and more visitors, and it wasn't long before the Canadian Pacific Railroad built the 843-room Banff Springs Hotel. By 1928, it was recognized as one of the world's best. Its reputation built on fine foods, lavish accommodations, and impeccable service. Its guest list from many of its many generations reads like who's who.
Earlier in the century, royalty were the epitome of stardom. The King of Siam in the early 1920s was thought to be a very famous person. People who were famous in the music world, people like Benny Goodman and radio, Jack Benny. And of course, movie stars have always been in this area. Many movies have been made here. Many famous movie stars have visited here, right up to Marilyn Monroe, who made some movies in this area, Alan Ladd, people of their vintage, and right up to Clint Eastwood and so on, people like that in the current day. For each period of time, the people who were famous at that time did come to Banff, and they still do.
Over its nearly 100-year history, the Banff Springs Hotel has enjoyed catering to the high life, and sometimes, as legend has it, to the afterlife. Along these majestic halls float stories as timeless and haunting as the hotel itself. One of the most intriguing is that of Sam Macaulay, affectionately known as the helpful bellman.
Sam was a bit of a character. He was a people person. He always was clowning. He was entertaining people. He had white hair. He had a Scottish accent, and he was always in the public spaces, greeting the guests, and a very jovial and happy person when he was working.
Not content to serve the hotel's population only in life, it is said that Sam continues to serve the guests of this great hotel 40 years after his death.
Before his death, he vowed that he would come back and haunt the hotel. And of course, the staff that knew him just chuckled and laughed.
One evening, a new bellman worked the hotel desk alone for the first time. He was feeling a little overwhelmed, doing his very best to accommodate each new request.
Go, bellman. Yes.
Two ladies who were waiting on the 9th floor, they tried to access their room with their key, and it wasn't working, and that called for a night lock, and the nightman was very busy, and he mentioned that he apologized, but he'd be up there as soon as possible.
Minutes later, an elderly gentleman came to the aid of the two women.
Hi, you've been calling for a bellman. We can't get into our room.
I have a key with me.
Okay, that's great.
There you are, lady.
Thank you very much.
Then he quickly went on his way. Later, when the young bellman made his way to the women's room, he found them already comfortably inside and was informed that the other bellman had helped them.
Good evening, miss.
Good evening.
Oh, I see that you're all settled in.
Yes.
How did you get in?
An older gentleman let us in.
After recounting the story to his supervisor, the young bellman was informed that the only person that fit that description was Sam. To this day, employees of the hotel say that Sam continues to help anyone in need, guests and staff alike.
We work graveyards. We all take turns, and when you're walking, the hotel's very quiet, and when you're walking down the hall, a lot of times the elevator opens up for you. You go inside, floors push that you want to go to, and it happens so many times. It's pretty strange. I just don't know.
Another mysterious tale from the spring's hallowed halls involves a beautiful bride, a winding staircase, and a tragic accident, now known forever as the legend of the burning bride. It was the perfect day for the perfect spring wedding, set in the most magnificent surroundings.
The incident that took place there in the early 30s of the daughter, and it was the only daughter, a very prominent family in Calgary, and the parents of this young lady were personal friends of the then manager of the Banff Springs Hotel.
A lavish affair in the true 1930s style. Calgary's social elite had gathered to celebrate.
The day arrived, day something like today, early June bride, many people, and the ceremony was to take place in the oval room overlooking the Bow Valley.
Following the nuptials, the wedding's reception was to be held in the Rob Roy dining room, one floor below. But this happy occasion was to have a quick and tragic end. As the young bride descended the candlelit staircase, she lost her footing. As she fell, the flames of the candles caught the hem of her wedding gown. Before her terrified new husband and hundreds of horror-stricken wedding guests, she met her tragic end.
But it was a very, very tragic day in the life of the family, and a very, very tragic day for the hotel.
Afterwards, the hotel manager, vowing that no one would ever suffer such a tragedy again, had the great stone staircase sealed forever.
Today, 60 years later, that staircase is still closed.
Exactly 1 year later to the day, a hotel staff member reported seeing an iridescent phantom, a woman dressed in white, dancing the wedding waltz that death had so spitefully stolen. When we come back, a master escapologist and a secret message sealed with his own blood, plus a midnight visitor that could turn you into a believer. When Things That Go Bump continues. Among us who hasn't at one time contemplated an afterlife, a resting place, a heaven, a hell. The human fascination with what happens after our lives has been with us every bit as long as our fascination with what happens during our lives. And of course, the thrilling possibilities of an unexplored world have prompted some souls to dig deeper, to try and understand, explain, and even to try and contact the other side. One of the more notable was Eric Weiss, a turn-of-the-century performer, thinker, and dreamer, better known as Harry Houdini. It was on a ship bound for England that Harry first received news of his mother's passing. Completely overcome with grief, he pleaded for the ship to be turned around. Impossible, of course. Harry would simply have to live with the fact that his mother died without him. Or would he? Over the next several years, Houdini exhausted every known medium, trying desperately to win a second chance at a proper farewell.
When he went to see a medium and he caught her at doing something that wasn't right, he would expose her. And of course, that made headlines the following days in the newspapers, and he'd go medium after medium after medium, exposing each one that he caught cheating.
As far as we know, Harry never did make contact with his deceased mother. But his interest was piqued, and his belief in another world, another consciousness, was so strong, he promised his wife that following his death, if there were any way for him to contact her, he would.
Houdini left two messages. He always believed that if anybody could come back, it would be he, being the escapologist he was. However, he didn't say he would come back. But just in case, he left an envelope. In this envelope is a letter from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle with 10 words circled. Those 10 words plus a code, which I carry in my pocket all the time, combined make up the message which Houdini will bring back if he comes back.
Harry Houdini died October 31st, 1926, Halloween night. His wife, Bess, enlisted the aid of mediums in numerous attempts to make contact.
Seances are a different story. After Houdini died, Mrs. Houdini tried to contact Houdini for 10 years, from 1926 to 1936. She was never successful in contacting him, but in 1936, at the last seance at the Knickerbocker Hotel in Los Angeles, something very strange happened, and that was they were in an outside garden at the top of the Knickerbocker Hotel, and it was a beautiful afternoon or night, and they no sooner started the seance and it started pouring rain. So everybody said, well, that's one way Houdini would come back, is he's not just going to appear, he's going to appear in some other phenomenon. The last seance is well recorded. At the end of it, Mrs. Houdini says, Houdini, you did not come back. I now reverently turn out the light.
But just as this famous performer believed he could reach beyond the veil of death, many thousands of people claim to have had authentic encounters with loved ones after they had crossed over. In fact, it's estimated that more than 70% of the population may have had such experiences. That's a large number, too large to ignore.
Our primary emphasis is to understand the portions of the brain that mediate the experiences rather than trying to demonstrate if they are correct or incorrect.
Neuroscientist Dr. Michael Persinger has been studying brain function and the issues surrounding the human experience for over 30 years.
My primary training is in the area of brain function. For many years I was involved in researching the relationship between unusual human behaviors and geophysical processes such as certain seismic and geomagnetic effects. So I have a background in the general theory of geophysics, but my primary thrust is involved with the relationship between brain and behavior and all of the ramifications of it.
One particularly interesting area of Dr. Persinger's study involves post-mortem apparitions, an area that has developed some curious discoveries.
The sense of a presence usually is described as some entity or person or thing behind the individual. The most common one takes place after the death of someone significant. Often it's called a bereavement hallucination or a post-mortem apparition. These experiences are extraordinarily common. They usually occur within about 3 to 4 days of the person's death. And we know that the portions of the brain that are activated are the same portions of the brain that involve memory and meaning, personal meaning. But they have to be stimulated or enhanced with the hormones and the chemistry associated with grief.
John Van Esch of London, Ontario, lost his younger sister Vera while vacationing overseas. One night, soon after Vera's death, John lay quietly in his darkened bedroom, his mind floating somewhere between sleep and wakefulness.
I was in bed, and it was right at that state where you know you're not asleep, but you're just about ready to depart. You're just about ready to sink off into sleep. And my sister all of a sudden appeared at the foot of my bed, and it was almost a flesh and blood kind of thing where you could almost reach out and touch it, but there was something about it, yeah, and I almost intuitively sensed, you know, that it wasn't real, because of course I knew that she was dead, that there was some kind of almost a two-dimensional quality to it. That it wasn't really real, you know, and in a way you almost feel cheated at that point, you know, that this isn't the real thing, and you wish it could be. She didn't talk to me, but it was almost as if she was talking inside of my head. And she basically passed along to me that she really didn't want me or my parents to really, or my other sister to really be that sad, or as sad and as feeling as horrible as we did about it, because she had continued, she had gone on, and that she was relatively happy where she was.
Was this experience a common post-mortem apparition? Was it truly Vera's spirit bidding farewell? Was it a complex neurophysiological phenomenon? Or was it a simple, peaceful dream?
Oh, I was awake, oh yeah. And I was kind of stunned because nothing like that had ever happened to me before. And I didn't really move around a whole lot. I just did a lot of thinking about what had just happened. And in general, feeling a lot better about the situation and thinking that, you know, this is really something special that has happened. And it doesn't happen too often in anybody's life. So I really did a lot of thinking about that, and I drifted off to sleep. You know, that sounds anticlimactic, but I just went to sleep.
Dreams or reality? John Van Esch went to bed thinking one way and woke up thinking another.
I think it has made a kind of a change in my life. It hasn't totally changed me because I still am who I am, and that includes all my warts and everything else. But yeah, it's made me feel easier about the thought of death.
In the laboratory, Dr. Persinger duplicates the post-mortem apparition experience using an acoustic chamber and a complex electromagnetic field generator designed to imitate the complex magnetic field produced inside the brain.
Now, what we have found is probably the most exciting of all. We now know that what we call the sense of self, when you look into the mirror and you say, this is me, this is an entity that exists, and when I die it will exist, is associated with left hemispheric processes. But there is an equivalent sense of self that seems to be associated with the right hemisphere, the right side of the brain. Normally you're not aware of it, but if you stimulate it and it intrudes into awareness, the experience you have is a sense of a presence, the sense of an entity, something beside you, usually on the left side. That process, we now know, is how the post-mortem apparition takes place.
Because science can now duplicate these episodes and, in a controlled environment, effectively create a postmortem apparition, does that prove that the real-life experiences are, in fact, imaginary?
As neuroscientists, we're interested in discovering the unknown. That's what science is. And we're interested in neural phenomenology, that is, the portions of the brain that mediate an experience. Consequently, we're not interested in dismissing psychical experiences or dismissing apparitional phenomena as being illusionary. We're not interested in dismissing or proving or not proving God's existence. We're more interested in talking about those portions of the brain and isolating those portions of the brain that mediate the experience.
So duplicating is one thing, but validating is another. And the questions still remain. Can science tell us if people really do see apparitions? Is there such a thing as a ghost?
We will probably find that indeed the experiences are real in the sense of experiences, but their explanations are probably things that we have not even thought about.
Dr. Persinger's research has been published in national journals, and he is recognized as a leading authority in this field. But there is still much skepticism in the scientific community, surrounding not only his research, but this entire area of study.
This particular area, even though it has tremendous significance for the future of human experience, is ignored because I think it's just too close to people's religious beliefs. But it's the kind of thing that is often avoided because scientists are also human beings. They also are afraid to die. They also have experiences that are unusual. And it's the scientist as the person that often makes them avoid pursuing this area as a scientific topic.
Whether paranormal activity is in fact a fairly common left brain, right brain process, or a completely independent psychic phenomenon, dreams or reality, remains a mystery, at least for now. But the thrilling prospect of actually reaching across to communicate beyond the veil of death is as intriguing now as it was when Harry Houdini first attempted to say goodbye to the woman he loved. When we come back, a higher education that begins in the concrete foundations of an Edmonton schoolhouse, you could call it a refresher course in spirituality, when things that go bump continues. It started with small things, locked doors left open, boilers turning themselves on and off. Pictures trading places, odd occurrences, but nothing that somehow couldn't be explained. And then somebody wanted to give a presentation.
Set up the chairs, the overhead projector, and all that, and there were so many windows up there we had to pull the blinds down to darken up the room. And some blinds wouldn't stay down, so we had to virtually staple them down. And we had it all set up by the end of the day. My co-worker and I arrived the next morning, first ones, and it looked like virtually somebody had a party up there. Chairs were knocked over, blinds were ripped right off the wall, the equipment was knocked over. It was just a disaster, so we had to really hustle our butts to get it set up again so they could get the presentation on the way.
Chaos in a secure room. Nothing missing, nothing stolen, no forced entry. For all his years here at the Mackay Avenue School in Edmonton, Ron Halady has seen and heard things that seem to completely defy rational explanation.
Because the occurrences were fairly infrequent, it wasn't like it was at the front of everyone's mind, but every once in a while something new would happen and it would bring it all to the fore, and you'd start wondering again about the origins of these noises.
Built in 1904, the Mackay Avenue School became a centerpiece for education and politics. The building's third-floor assembly hall was used for the first and second sittings of the Alberta legislature.
Edmonton Public Schools Archives and Museum has a threefold function now. The first of these is, as the name suggests, the Archives and Museum of Edmonton Public Schools, and so we have many of the original records and school items used in the Edmonton Public System in our holdings. We also have 4 very active school programs that are conducted in and throughout this building and the historic 1881 schoolhouse.
While boasting several politicians of note, the Mackay School's hallways have also hosted an impressive and diverse student alumni.
Wilfred Watt May is one of the early students of Mackay Avenue School, once described by a teacher as a young man with his head in the clouds. Leslie Nielsen walked through the hallways, and Judge Martland, a Canadian Supreme Court judge.
Restored on its original site in 1987, the historic Mackay Avenue School continues to serve the city of Edmonton in a functional capacity, and according to Ron Halady, perhaps a little more.
With all the rumors going on with ghosts in here, in the building here, and I'd practiced with a Ouija board at home previously, so I thought I'd bring one into work here on off hours when I'd come in the evening or on a weekend.
Through the board, Ron found that there was indeed an unseen presence in the school.
Are there any spirits out there?
When asked to identify itself, the spirit spelled out the name Peter. According to Peter, there was not one but many spirits roaming these halls.
He identified himself, and he also mentioned that there were 6 other spirits roaming the building at the time. Half the time it's hard to believe if they're telling you the truth when you're using the Ouija board or not, you know. They do play tricks many a time.
Peter was quite talkative, and through the Ouija board told Ron of a cold winter day in 1912 and the construction of a 4-classroom addition to the original school building. Peter, a laborer, was working on the roof of the addition. It was icy. He lost his footing and, said the Ouija board, almost as quickly, his life. Because of the frozen winter earth, Peter says his co-workers used the basement of the new addition as his final resting place, effectively turning the Mackay Avenue School into a large, cold grave, and at least one spirit's eternal home.
And he continued to tell me that he was married, he had 3 children, all girls, one supposedly still living in California, but, you know, how do you find that out, you know? And I checked the old newspapers to check with, like, the Edmonton Bulletin and the Edmonton Journal way back during the 1912 edition, and they had no documentation whatsoever of the edition, so obviously they wouldn't have anything on his death if it is in fact true, so.
But proof or no proof, the strange occurrences at the Mackay Avenue School continue.
This other occasion, I was cleaning up on the 3rd floor from a function from the night before. And I was mopping away at the floor, and I heard this noise sound like dishes clattering in a cafeteria, and I was the only one in the building. So I came halfway down the stairs from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor, and the noise stopped. Must be Peter again. So I went back up there and started mopping again and started again. So I went back down again and got halfway down again. It stopped. So I went back up there, started mopping again. It started again for the 3rd time. I said, forget it. Let them play their tricks on me.
I don't disbelieve the possibility that we have a spirit wandering our hallways, but we have come to think of him as a sort of a guardian spirit, if you will. There's nothing evil about him or anything like that.
Unexplainable noises, unlocked doors, furniture rearranged. Knowing Peter, his friends, and their pranks doesn't seem to upset Ron Halady. In fact, he seems to enjoy the company, both at work and at home.
My wife keeps joking I brought the ghost home with me. because she was downstairs in our rec room, and I don't think I was at home at the time. My daughters were upstairs, and she was downstairs in the main rec room, and in our bedroom, the lights started flashing on and off. As soon as she seen that, she just beelined it upstairs until I got home.
The Mackay Avenue School has over the years seen many faces, some young, some old, some who couldn't wait to leave its spacious confines, and apparently some who couldn't leave even if they wanted to. When we come back, the grand tour of a Southern Ontario factory that manufactures mystery, and a woman who puts poltergeist in their place, when Things That Go Bump continues. There are not many places that take the study of the paranormal seriously in Canada. Still, there are a few progressive individuals that sequester themselves away to experiment and document this interesting, if often ridiculed, science. The Institute of Parapsychological Studies in Toronto is one such serious organization. Established in 1977, the Institute holds workshops and seminars and actively investigates paranormal events. Founder and director Beverly Janis has been involved with parapsychology since 1973 and still teaches and lectures extensively. According to Beverly and the Institute, more people are plagued with poltergeist spirits than is commonly thought.
In April, I was called by a representative of a large corporation that there was happenings in an older office building that they owned, and the tenants were complaining that staff were leaving, sometimes running out in the middle of the night, and that things were being moved, and that a number of staff were being upset of the tenant, and if the Institute would come in and do something about it.
A poltergeist, the Oxford Dictionary states, is a noisy, mischievous ghost, one manifesting itself by physical damage. Some of these poltergeist hauntings have gained great notoriety, like the Amityville Horror and Steven Spielberg's 1982 film Poltergeist. Obviously, the majority of these haunting episodes don't make the headlines, but when it does actually happen, people are genuinely frightened. They want the ghost, the spirit, the poltergeist to go away.
I don't think that there can be ghosts without the energies of living people.
In one such case, the Institute and its director were called in to investigate.
We explained to the staff that just as there are radio waves and television waves in every room all the time around us, that the only way we can pick them up is if we have a receiver, a television receiver or a radio receiver. The same thing happens with what we call the paranormal. There appear to be many dimensions and wavelengths. Something happens within people and they become a receiver. We don't necessarily know what it is. You might call it an altered state of consciousness. And they become a receiver, and when they do that, they pick up things that are outside the normal range of comprehension or understanding or vision or hearing or seeing. And that's when people say they see ghosts.
In this instance, employees were seriously panicked, even to the point of leaving the company permanently.
Some of the women said that they were aware of being stared at, and that on one occasion, two women were sitting in the room talking, the typewriter was turned off, and suddenly it started typing all by itself. On another occasion, while they were sitting there, the Venetian blinds started moving quite strongly by themselves, and there was no wind in the room. In fact, after a second or two, the women weren't in the room either, which is a normal, natural reaction.
At first, of course, it was thought a prank, but as complaints escalated, the situation became much more serious. In one instance, a weekend employee alone in the building on a Saturday made his way across the production room, taking advantage of a thin corridor between stacks of heavy pallets. When he returned, the corridor was closed. He was alone. The pallets too heavy to move by themselves. Something not easily explainable was definitely happening.
I've got no real feeling towards it. It doesn't bother me. It's, you know, if something happened, it happened. But, you know, if I came face to face with it or something, maybe it would be different.
You can solve it in different ways. Sometimes by investigating the situation, putting the bright light of discovery on it, so as to speak. That in itself will end the situation.
Through employee interviews, Beverly discovered that some of the people in the building had experienced psychic episodes before. An important find, because according to Beverly Janis, poltergeist hauntings are often a result of random psychic energy generated by the living.
The happenings, we could ascribe it to what we call poltergeist happenings, and that appears to be when the mind, the energy, which we all have, is somehow diverted and used to move physical objects. Poltergeist means impish or noisy spirit. And quite often, you'll come across poltergeist happenings where there are very intense feelings. And some of the people on staff did have intense feelings.
Through experienced counseling, Beverly was able to help staff control their random psychic energy and finally overcome the problems in their haunted brownstone, at least for now. When we come back, bright lights where there are none, toys that literally disappear, and a phantom known only as the Lady in White. All in the Prince of Haunted Houses, When Things That Go Bump continues. Heritage Park in Calgary, Alberta. A curiously timeless haunt, where hitching posts still grace the main street and the blacksmith's shingle still holds a place of prominence, a place of earlier simplicities, before parapsychology and clinical names like post-mortem apparitions. The authentic buildings and original homes in this turn-of-the-century park come from a time when poltergeists were simply ghosts, and unexplained mysteries were a way of life. Hidden inside these brick and plaster centurions are stories that have also weathered the years. Stories of secrets and sadness. Stories whispered carefully after midnight.
Well, certainly over the years, there have been a number of occurrences and happenings, many occurrences and happenings in the park associated with some of the buildings, primarily the Opera House, the Canmore Opera House, and the Prince House. Other activities, though, throughout the park have indeed happened, but the Prince House and the Opera House are the two facilities that are primarily the focus of these extracurricular activities, I guess, that happen.
The house was built in 1894 by Peter Prince. Mr. Prince came out from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and he was the manager for the Eau Claire and Bow River Lumber Company, which was formed to log and lumber here in the city. The house itself was a reflection of his status in the community, certainly of his affluence, and of the kind of leading entrepreneur, lumber baron, if you want, that he was.
I know it was in the late 70s, as I recall. A security guard phoned me at home about 2 o'clock in the morning and said, "You got to come out here. All the lights in the Prince House, on the third floor of the Prince House, are on it." And sure enough, I came over about 2:15, and the whole third floor of the Prince House was lit up. And I tried to create an explanation in my mind that perhaps it's lights from the surrounding districts reflecting and whatever. But I walked all the way around the building and could not come up with a satisfactory explanation. And the guard and I weren't prepared to go into the house to take a look. All I knew was it wasn't a fire, so I wasn't concerned about that. I said, well, this can wait until morning. I just didn't feel I was prepared to saunter up into the third floor at 2:30 in the morning and investigate this phenomenon.
Why such concern over lights left on? It seems like an episode easily explained, except for one small detail.
What's going on in there? I don't know. There's lights on. Well, there's no lights up there. There's not even any power up there.
I don't know if this show of lights or whatever it was just a manifestation to show, to keep us all interested, keep us all aware.
Bright lights appearing where there is no electrical power is one thing, but many darker, more baffling mysteries also surround the Prince house.
I had a staff member a few years ago who was working here during the summer months, and she found a rather unusual thing would happen each evening as she was locking up. She would be upstairs, making sure that all of the rooms were emptied, and on her way downstairs, she would hear sounds coming from the kitchen at the back of the house, the sound of the clattering and clanking of pots and pans. And of course, she'd arrive in the kitchen and there would be no one to be seen. And she was a little unnerved by this experience and asked that she not be put back into this house to work.
The one I've heard the most commonly recounted in Prince and in Sandstone next door is of visitors to the house seeing a woman in one of the bedrooms with a baby. Variations have her changing the baby, holding the baby, singing to the baby. And subsequently coming to our interpreter in the house and commenting on how nice this was as an interpretive touch.
I really liked it, especially the room upstairs, the lady holding the baby. Really nice touch.
The baby?
Yeah, I really liked it. I'll definitely be back.
Oh, thank you. Bye now.
Of course, the interpreter was surprised because we didn't have anyone stationed upstairs. The woman phoned the park subsequently and remarked on this, and so we went and interviewed her and had her recount her experience to us, and there was no explanation for it.
Who is this woman in white? And why does she make herself known to only a few select staff and guests? What is there about this particular house that seems to attract these incidents?
We've even had people who have seen certain things happen in certain rooms, people who have even sworn to have photographed things out of the house here. One of the most notable ones, people took a picture of their young daughter, I believe it was, on the front of the house, just as a vacation or outing type picture. And once they developed the picture, said that they could see something in the window.
Is this a random reflection caught in the window of a 100-year-old house? Or is it truly the image of a ghostly presence, making itself known to an unsuspecting public?
We actually run a number of school programs. The children as a class are brought in to visit the Prince house housekeeper and her sister for the afternoon is the scenario. And because the Prince children are away, the kids are allowed to come in and look at their toys and play with some of them. And we have found numerous occasions after the children have been in, done the play program, the volunteers or staff have come back in to reset the program for the next time, that one toy soldier won't be there. This has happened frequently, and we've assumed that perhaps it's gone home with a young boy or girl. But almost invariably the next day, it'll turn up, usually in its original position, back where it's supposed to be.
Disappearing antique toys. Phantoms photographed, caught in the blink of an eye through a murky window. And what of the mysterious woman in white that dotes over her baby? Is she one of the deceased wives of Peter Prince? Or just another lost soul who finds the house to her liking? We may never know. One thing is sure. The Prince house staff almost all agree that there is a presence here. An unseen force that makes them uneasy. Is it another phantom playing tricks? Or a mother's struggle for solitude? An attempt to lock out the living?
they're mischievous and they move things around, or they appear when they don't expect them to appear, and they may startle some people, but they've certainly been friendly.
When we come back, is it a phantom, a poltergeist, a haunted castle? Which tales of the unknown find you under the covers? From a castled hotel in Banff to a shop-worn Toronto factory, a doctor's laboratory in Northern Ontario, to an unassuming theme park in Western Canada, everybody has a ghost story. Are they true? Some swear by it. Others are not so sure. But if in your travels you do unearth a tale that is even a little mysterious, and you decide to add a liberal sprinkling of imagination, mix with a pinch of fear, and whisper it on a dark and stormy night, then for that instant, it can be as true can be. I'm James Doohan. Until we meet again, may you and yours be protected from ghoulies and ghosties and long-leggedy beasties and things that go bump in the night.
While in Banff, our crew stays at the Buffalo Mountain Lodge, in Edmonton at the Mayfield Inn, in Kitchener at the Walper Terrace Hotel, and while in Toronto, our crew stays at the Sheraton Centre Hotel and the Sheraton Gateway Hotel at Toronto's International Airport.